All right. Good morning. Good.
Good morning.
Is it still morning? I guess so. Hello, hello.
And it's 11 here. I would hope so. Yes. No, welcome everybody. We'll wait for a couple seconds, a couple minutes, just to make sure that all the attendees are already in the meeting. Yeah, in the meanwhile, let us just be a little bit patient. Maybe do a short introduction, Jona.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Steffi. Maybe also not to get you irritated. Steffi's name is not Janos. um, just another account. So welcome everyone for today's webinar. Yeah. I still see some people joining. So this webinar will be until lunchtime, until 12, so that we can release every one of you on time into the lunch break. But yeah, very happy to have all of you here this morning, despite this beautiful sunshine here, at least in Munich. All right. How are we doing? Are there still people in the waiting room, Steffi?
No, nobody in the waiting room. We already have some people already in the meeting. Yeah, I would say let's go ahead. Oh, one person joining as well.
Good.
Perfect.
Hello, Maxime. Wow, great, cool. Big round today. Thanks a lot for joining. So welcome to our webinar today about the topic environmental data as a sales argument. And I'm really excited to discuss this topic today with you because I think it's very future oriented topic, how to leverage environmental data in sales conversations. And let me first of all introduce myself to you. So my name is Jona. I work as a PM at Emidat since roughly 2 years now. And from my background, I am an architect. I joined Emidat initially as an LCA expert, and now work as a PM, as I already said. A few words about Emidat for those of you who don't know us yet. So the Emidat platform is a climate native product management platform for construction products manufacturers like you. Climate native product management means to manage products in a platform with environmental performance built in, so enabling every product decision to be both commercially and climate intelligent, being it product decisions about compliance, product design, or also how to sell and market the product, which we will have a look on today, or any other decisions around your product. So our vision is here to really have this climate native product management as easy and as intuitive as possible for you. Short notice on this format. So we quite regularly organize webinars like this. So today about environmental data as a sales argument. I would also like to invite you to our next webinar at November the 6th with our CEO, Lisa Obereigner, and Dr. Robert Pell, the CEO of Minviro, about another topic, which will be how to move from LCA models to EPDs and PCF in a way that is consistent, auditable, and scalable. So if you would like to join this one, November 6th, how to move from LCA to EPDs, PEF, PCFs, then feel free to contact us. Great. Then let's jump into the webinar. We will record the session. It will be shared afterwards, and there will be also enough time for questions in the end. So today we have prepared an agenda for you to learn why environmental data is important generally for you as a manufacturer currently, but also in the next upcoming years. Then a short excursus, what are the basics of an EPD, how to understand the data in an EPD, especially as a sales representative, since we're having that focus for today. And then, of course, most importantly, how to leverage that environmental data in conversations with your customers. And in the end, we'll have the Q&A session. Then let's jump into why environmental data is important for you as manufacturers. So as most of you probably already know, environmental data, product-specific environmental data is being requested and demanded more and more. And this comes of several sources. So one source is, of course, voluntary certifications of buildings. So there's a study, for example, from the EBU in Germany that with EPDs you can achieve up to 15% better results in the checklists in the DGNB certification, but also for LEED and BREEAM, you will achieve higher certification results and more points if you use EPDs. So if you, as a manufacturer, can provide them, you can help architects, project developers, and so on to achieve that. A second source for the environmental data demand is, of course, public subsidies and tenders. So in order to participate in public tenders in countries like France, Denmark, Italy, Norway, Sweden, there are environmental data required. There are also some greenhouse gas targets. For example, for France, since January 2022, there are emission ranges between 12.8 and 14.8 kilograms CO2 per square meter per year. This is just one example. Other examples we also see in the other mentioned countries. And yeah, to be able to compete here, environmental data will be needed or is already needed since a couple of years. Then, of course, third, the preparation for new regulatory frameworks. So we're heading into a new era, so to say, here, as all of you probably already know, that environmental data will be required in the new DOPC, so the Declaration of Performance and Conformity, later also the Digital Product Passport, DPP, which we'll have a look into later a bit more in detail, according to the new construction products regulation. So yeah, if you're generating EPDs right now after the norms, the 15804 plus A2, you're directly preparing for those regulatory frameworks. And then, of course, last but not least, adherence to own corporate goals, your intrinsic motivation, sustainability reporting on your company level as part of CSRD. So products and production data is, of course, needed here also. So you can also, for example, reuse collected data for environmental supporting here on the company level. Then, time-wise, why is it important? We define 3 windows, and at the moment we see in Europe roughly 2,500 manufacturers that have EPDs. To date, that is only like less than 1% of all the construction products manufacturers in the EU and also in the US that have EPDs, but that will need EPDs by the end of 2030. So if you're about to create EPDs and prepare for environmental data now, you're in the top 1% still, and you will gain a huge market advantage. Then a second window, we call it a window of opportunity. You're still in the very first ones, in the first batch that creates EPDs. But still, we see that already now product-specific EPDs are often much better than average or association EPDs, up to 30% or more. And also with Emidat, we want to make you able to respond to EPD requests quickly. And then the last window, the high performer window, where in the European market, up to 50% higher margins will be expected if you can provide product-specific environmental data for your portfolio. Great. Then let's have a look, after understanding why this environmental data is important, into the basics of an EPD. What are EPDs and how to understand them? So some basics, for some of you, it might be a repetition. Bear with us. We'll continue soon with some more details. But for those of you who haven't heard about this, so EPD basics, EPDs are based on LCAs, life cycle assessments. EPD stands for Environmental Product Declaration. The EPDs follow industry standards, which I already mentioned, for example, the EN 15804 plus A2, which ensures consistency in the calculation, but also when it comes to assumptions, cutoffs, and so on. And it creates trust with your customer because EPDs provide transparency. They are third-party verified, but still, of course, don't contain any confidential information. They are valid for 5 years, so your customers and other stakeholders along the value chain can rely on the third-party verified transparent environmental data, and you can categorize them as a type 3 environmental declaration based on quantitative data, following standardized rules, the so-called product category rules defined by the program operators who publish the EPDs. So yeah, full picture of EPDs. How is the current process? So it all starts with the data collection. So this is the most important step in the beginning to prepare for all the upcoming steps, of course. So collecting data on supply materials and production processes and your products. So we always split it into those 3 layers. And then on top of that, with a tool or with a consultant, you can then calculate and generate the LCA based on your data collection and use the results from the calculation for the LCA for a background report and EPD draft. Those documents are then sent to verification. So a third-party independent verifier will have a look on it and will check plausibility, calculation rules, and so on. In our Emidat platform, many product categories are already pre-verified. So this verification step is really minimized to a couple of days or only 1 day, because our calculation rules and the engine, the core of the software, is already pre-verified. And then the last step is the publication. If the verification was concluded and everything is okay, and you will find your EPD published. So let's have a quick look on the lifecycle stages, which is important. Also, if there are some sales representatives in this webinar today that may have not heard about this. So it's important to understand this, to also understand EPDs. So this lifecycle assessment, the LCA that we talked about, is based on the lifecycle stages. The lifecycle is basically the life of a product from being born, so to say, until the grave, or hopefully behind the grave, back to cradle. So what does it consist of? Mainly those 5 phases. The first one is the supply and the production of the raw materials that you use to produce your products, then the transports of those materials to your plant, and then the manufacturing of your product based on those supplied raw materials. And the second stage is the product leaves your factory gate and is being transported to your customer or to the construction site and is being installed in A5. Then in B, the product is used. So this is all about how is your product treated, how much energy does it need, if it requires some energy to be used, how often should it be replaced, repaired, maintained, cleaned, and so on, how much water does it consume, if it consumes water. So this is all about the use phase. And then at the end, there's the end of life. So there it is decided how your product is treated, if it is, how it is deconstructed, how it is transported to a disposal site, how it is recycled, how it is incinerated, and so on. And then last but not least, there is the so-called module D, which is viewed at separately, and it contains all the credits and the burdens beyond the system, meaning that result mainly from the C stage, the end of life stage. So for example, if your product replaces the production of some virgin material, so to say. So those are those famous terms. Cradle to gate is A1 to A3, and then eventually plus options. So some other modules after that, cradle to grave and cradle to cradle. So let's have a quick look into an EPD, also for you as sales representatives, how to view an EPD and how to understand it, and what are the most important information to be able to explain or to answer questions. So what we see is an actual valid EPD published roughly a year ago, and we see currently the title page. So at the top right corner, we see the program operator. This is actually now updated. They are called EPD Global. So this has changed in the last year. And the program operator is the institution who publishes the EPD. Then also the product title, how or under which name the product is being sold on the market. Then the industry standard, so how this EPD was developed and calculated, and also the validity period, so the issue date and the valid to date, that you know how long you can still benefit of a valid EPD. Then if you scroll further, page 2 and 3 on the left and right side, we see, for example, some admin information about the manufacturer, also about the program operator. Then a very important information is the declared unit. So also for comparison, or if you talk about the results, it's always important to consider per what declared unit all the impacts are. And the declared unit basically defines all information, all results that are part of the EPD. So they all refer to this declared unit. In this case, it's 1 cubic meter of ready-mix concrete. Then there's also a product description, an application description, also a production process, which is a bit abstracted here, and also the composition of the product. So you see here, like no sensitive data or very precise data is included. This is then part of the background report, which is not published, but part of the EPD, there's an abstracted composition. So you see some BOM share ranges and like abstracted ingredients. Then, of course, if you scroll further, this is the most important table. It includes the core indicators per lifecycle module for one declared unit of your product. So in the rows, you see in the first column all the core indicators after 15804 plus A2. And most importantly, the global warming potential here at the top, consisting of the GWP total, which is the sum of those three global warming potentials. The global warming potential from fossil sources, from biogenic sources, and LULUC, which means from land use. And then in the columns, you see the life cycle stages that we just went through. So you see the impact per indicator per life cycle module. So in this case, we could, for example, say the production of one declared unit of this product, including the production and the transport of the included raw materials, is almost 185 kilograms of CO2 equivalents. So let's get to the most important and most interesting point probably, how to leverage environmental product declarations in your customers' discussions. First of all, we have seen with many of our customers that it's, of course, important for you as a sales representative to understand what your customers are looking for and understand their needs and build empathy with them. And understand who throughout the value chain will benefit how from your environmental data. We defined three examples here. The first one being building planners. So they might include project developers, architects, building certifiers, maybe also financial planners. And for them, it's obviously important to have like a dedicated overview about a whole building project, about a whole customer project, to understand the overall impact, not only about one declared unit or one product, but rather like the overall impact about all the products and all the quantities of the products that were delivered. Secondly, we will dive into that in a second. Secondly, the distributors. So this might be resellers also, marketplaces that bring your products also into international markets. For them, it's of course important to have the corresponding documentation and also no blockers to bring the products and sell the products into international markets. And last but not least, your customers. Of course, that may include also the first two stakeholder groups, but in the end, for your customers, it is beneficial if you as a manufacturer can provide EPDs, because then your customers can calculate their own EPDs based on your EPDs as precise, or more precise. So you as a manufacturer will support your customer by providing your EPD to, in the end, most likely lower their impact, because they can rely on your primary data and don't have to use fallback secondary data. So let's look into different solutions for those stakeholder groups. First of all, building planners and distributors. So in our Emidat platform, we have some solutions for example for a customer project. So you as a sales representative can combine multiple products to a customer project. You can directly see what the total project GWP is, and also the different impacts from all the included products, also multiplied with the quantity. So if you as a sales representative, for example, are in a sales conversation with your customer, you can say, hey, we could theoretically include products A and B and C, and you can directly see the impact that this project would have if you would deliver those products with also some amounts. And you could, for example, directly adjust the numbers and the products together with your customer to see how the impact would change and how you could reduce it. You can, of course, also create documents and then send them afterwards to your customers. Also, I think quite important for many customers or manufacturers in Germany, if architects, building planners are looking for your EPDs in ÖkoBauDat, that's obviously also a very, very good platform where all those stakeholders search for environmental data. So if you want to publish into ÖkoBauDat, that's of course also possible. Feel free to approach us here. Then second one, your value chain. I already started talking a bit about it. So how this works in the end is that you as a manufacturer, if you create an EPD, use secondary data for the raw materials that you purchase and that are part of your final product. if the supplier for the material that you use in your BOM has an EPD for the supplied material, then you can, of course, use this one instead of the secondary data, which in most of the cases will lower your impact because secondary data often calculates with worst cases, with averages, with security factors added on top, and you can get rid of it by just using primary data, which is precise. You can find your suppliers' EPDs in the Emidat platform directly and include them in the calculation. So in the end, the value that you can provide, or also an argument that you can put in a sales conversation, is that, hey, dear customer, if you are buying a product from us, and we will be able to deliver the product-specific environmental data. So if you as a customer, if you as our customer use our products to produce something else, you can fall back on our primary data instead of using secondary data. I would quickly, like to introduce you to this role. So all of those features or solutions that I talked about are obviously available for sales managers using the Emidat platform. So if you want to invite your colleagues from sales, from marketing to make use and benefit from those solutions, then you can just go to settings, to users, and invite your colleague with the email address, and by selecting the sales manager as a role. If you have questions about how to use it and where to find it, feel free to reach out to us or to me. So at a glance, how can you benefit from environmental data? I think environmental data is super powerful when it's used, and environmental data is just the basis. I mean, environmental data is created for one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in our current times, which is climate change. And creating the data is the basis for it, but it's only powerful when it's used. So it is really meant to help your products to reach new markets and being able to sell your products on the market compliant. So 3 points. With environmental data and the corresponding outputs, you can access international markets that have specific environmental requirements or restrictions when it comes, for example, to CO2 limits per square meter for new buildings, or for different financing options, subsidies, or tenders. The second one is comparing, benchmarking. So to see how your products relate to each other, also relate to competitors' products, to industry benchmarks, to association EPDs. And you can use it, of course, for 2 different purposes. So one, showing that comparison, that benchmark to the outside, and showing your environmental impacts and or efforts. But also, of course, to the inside, and check where are the levers to actually improve my product and my production processes. And the third point is the preparation for the upcoming CPR, the Digital Product Passport. As I said, it will the rollout of the new CPR will start with the beginning of next year for the first harmonized product, so with the CE marking, and will be iteratively rolled out until 2030. And it will require a digital product passport, which you can imagine like a passport for us humans, in a digitized format, which enables every stakeholder who gets in touch with your product after it leaves your factory gate to know how to deal with your product, how to use it, how to disassemble it, how to clean it, and so on. And also, of course, to know what is inside, also to know what is the environmental impact. So access international markets, just to get a bit more into the details or some examples here. In the Emidat platform, you can, of course, for example, output the FDS and ICV formats. So those are the French equivalents to EPDs with the French program operator Ignes, which you can directly, fully in French translated, send to your customers, to all other stakeholders, and having them published. Then product comparison, you probably already know the comparison feature that we have on the Emidat platform, so you can directly compare products against each other for different indicators, for different life cycle stages, see where the impact is coming from, why one product is better than the other, where the levers are, and so on. And also, we are planning to not only allow 2 products to be compared, but also more, and also set them in a larger context. As I said, for example, industry benchmarks, which you will be able to customize and set up your own benchmarks as you need them. So in this example for the spider diagram, you could see for a selection of indicators, how do you perform against the industry benchmark, against a competitor's product, and so on. And then last but not least, from EPD to DPP, you can also scan this QR code. It's actually working. It contains full like a short explanation about the difference between EPD and DPP, what it contains, what an EPD contains, but a DPP does not contain, and vice versa. What are the regulations talking about here? So if you're interested in knowing more details, feel free to scan it and process the information. Right. So concluding, last slide. As a sales representative, what is important now? So we have come up with a 6-point thinking framework for you in the sales departments. So what is important for you as a sales representative to have an overview about when it comes to environmental data? First one being having a product overview. So you should know which products of your portfolio already have an EPD or are having better results than another, which ones have EPDs in the pipeline where EPDs are planned. So just to know and being able to answer your customers where you have the documents available, the data available, and can also talk about the results here. So this was already the second. Then the third, compliance. So which declaration should you use or create first for you to be able to sell it? So where should you as a sales representative have a look on that they will have the corresponding environmental data for you to be able to sell it in the markets where you want to sell it? Then the fourth one, comparison. So of course, it's always helpful and beneficial to understand where you stand in the market, where you stand in your industry, and how are you better, how can you improve? And then also, of course, fifth point, what is the sources? So where does the impact come from? If customers ask, what measures are you taking as a manufacturer, as a company to improve those impacts? And why are the impacts as they are? And then last but not least, customer focus. So as I said in the beginning, know the needs of the stakeholders, know the needs of the customer groups, and help them with providing detailed and opinionated answers. Great. So as I said, all of those features and all of those points from this framework are available in our sales manager role. And we're of course always happy to also hear your feedback about it. If you're using it, let us know if you have further improvement ideas. And that's it for the webinar. We now have time for questions and answers. And I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was insightful for you. You could gain some value from this webinar. And then I'm happy to open up the discussion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jona. That was quite insightful. So, if anybody has any questions, if you're struggling in communicating something, or maybe even some hot tips on how to, let's say, further push it to your client, say, hey, we already have EPDs, or we're gonna start on this and leverage this information. You can either let us know completely, very transparently. Again, not everybody is working already with Emidat, but even if not, we're very happy to give some tips that we do believe as a mission, as a value that we should leverage this environmental data, not only because of compliance, but of worth. So yeah, if anybody has some questions, feel free to raise your hand, and then I can unmute you, or also write in the chat.
Great, thanks. I'll open the chat. Let's see. Okay, someone writing. A lot of pressure to write fast. No, just kidding. Has the Omnibus CSRD package had any impact on your clients so far? I think partly. So as I said, we're rather on the products level, rather on the company level when it comes to creating environmental data. But of course, the data collection is overlapping quite a lot. So for example, when it comes to the production processes, and I think also about the product compositions and so on. So I think many of our customers were able to reuse parts of the data collection from the EPD for CSRD reporting. So that's, I think, something we can say. Yeah, but of course for the CSRD, there's then also some other data collection packages required. Hope that answers your question, Fadim. Fadim, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Great. All right. Some more. I see some more typing.
Daniel, I also unmuted you in case you wanna. Yeah.
Great question, Mihai Daniel. So the question is, does Emidat plan to become a notified body for the AVS 3 Plus under CPR 2024? The answer is no, we're not planning to become accredited. But we are building up a great network with notified bodies. We're currently speaking to many. And we also are at the forefront about the validation methodologies, about the norms that are currently developed that define how the verification and validation process of environmental data will change. So we're preparing everything and are at the forefront to offer the validation of your environmental data with notified bodies under the AVS 3 Plus system. I think background why we are not becoming a notified body ourselves, because we obviously want to keep the independence of stakeholders in that creation chain of environmental data. We still keep that outside, and we are still focusing on the creation and the usage of the environmental data. You're welcome. And of course, we know that this is most important for the first affected categories, for example, precast, I think also insulation, glass. So we're preparing everything that you can start next year.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jona. I don't know if there's any other questions or topics that you would like to discuss. If not, yeah, I would thank you so much for your time, everybody. I hope this meeting and this webinar was quite insightful. Yeah, and then thank you, Jona, for the insights and the time.
Thanks a lot to everyone. And yeah, happy to hear from you. Happy to hear about questions, about ideas. I'm happy to discuss. Great. And see you at the
Amazing.
next webinar, hopefully.
Yes. Thank you.